We're good. Welcome, everybody. Happy Sunday. I'm Dave Fries. We're here with another episode for you of In Top Form. Today's topic is going to be travel tips and tricks and hacks that can make you travel way better, way more enjoyable. We're here with a travel-sized dog, Tucker Max, and our co-hosts,
Sam Sikdar, Alex Fries.
We're sorry if you saw that false start earlier, just moments ago, with a hideous. I basically mock people that do what we just did.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time mocking them, which is wrong. I shouldn't revel in other people's failure to orient the.
I guess we got what we deserve.
Yeah, it was a very karmic. So today we're going to be talking to you about experiences that we've had and how that's informed us when we travel. A lot of the things we're going to be talking about today will be on a long, relatively long trip, several weeks that we're planning, but we will be staying at hotels, and in some case really nice hotels. So there'll be some things that we'll do differently than if we were going to be going overnight camping when we were at that location. Although future shows we'll talk about preparedness and camping. But for today, long adventure in multiple countries where we want to go relatively light. We don't want to be bogged down. We're going to have lots of different kinds of activities. We'll be eating out, so we'll have some meetings, so we have to have some pretty nice clothes. When I was talking about this topic with Peter Wishney, he said, "Dude, I like my shoes." So I guess Peter can't travel light, but let me just share one thing. Let me just jump to this. I'm going to be using this as the shoe.
Oh, very nice.
So super lightweight, not like dressy enough for business meetings, but there's some alternatives there too that we can talk about. So I'm going to be taking one backpack with me. I think, Alex, you're planning on the same configuration, and a relatively small rollerboard.
Yep.
And we'll have enough. I mean, we could do this for 2 weeks or 6 weeks. Alex, Robin, Josh, Jamie, and I went on a 6 weeks adventure to Australia and New Zealand, and each only took a pack this size. If you can see it, we'll hold it up if not, and a small rollerboard. That was it.
It's fantastic.
So we know that we can do this. We're not just making this stuff up as we go. So we're going to be talking about, and we're happy to take your questions. I guess, Alex, you'll be able to see it. Do we have some folks joining us?
Yeah, Greg Buckley is on.
Hey, Greg Buckley, we missed you. We've missed you lately. That's fantastic. Thanks for coming.
He was live just a few minutes ago.
Oh, I hop on Greg's live whenever oh, there he goes. That's excellent. So we're going to bring up your questions and things. Happy to talk about them as we go. I don't know what's going on with that, but so today we're going to start with a topic, and then we'll go on from there, which is just 3 rules of lighter packing. So first of all, traveling with a little less, it involves overcoming fear. Most people have FOMO about packing. And so the first thing is a mindset piece, which is you have to be sure and understand, which is one of the reasons we're telling you, I've done this with 3 young kids and made it work. I do this all the time. And now, if Tom Foster, somebody's watching, they're going to laugh, because when I go to Tom's office to work on a Friday, I might have 7 bags with me, including a small mobile library. But this is all context dependent. So you have to get in your mindset. Rule number 1, you need way less than you think.
And a good way to practice that might be just in your daily life and really take a look at, well, wow, I really only wear 5 out of the 20 shirts that are in my closet on a daily basis. But when you go traveling, for some reason you want to take all 20 shirts.
And it is fear-based.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. Almost everybody's probably had this experience, whether you're going away for months or for a long weekend. Are we doing our podcast too?
Yeah,
We're good to go. Excellent.
Nice.
Whether you're going for a weekend or a shorter period of time, I think everybody's had this experience where we go away and we pack and pack and pack, and then we go, I needed 1/3 of what I had.
Right.
And this is the 80-20 rule that Sam's talking about. This has been studied over and over and over again. We use about 20% of the clothes in our closet 80% of the time.
Right.
So you need way less in your closet. And again, if I took this upstairs and showed you my closet, you would mock me speaking on this issue. But we will be going super light for this trip and have a perfectly great time and not feel like we missed anything. Another thing to get you over that fear is, without spending a lot of money, almost always where you're going to want to buy things, and sometimes it's easier to pick something up once you're there. Like for example, it is fairly simple to carry the right kind of electrical adapter, although for this particular trip, which is to Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand, they all three
Use 3 different ones.
Oh, naturally.
yeah, and they have, and it just depends on who did your wiring in those countries.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could really hit a lot of different stuff. So in some cases, it's just better. That's a particularly simple and easy one to use.
like
In
this.
some cases, it's just better to get things when you're there. And if you think you might need 3 T-shirts for the trip, take 1 or 2 because you're going to buy one when you're there anyway. So the first rule of lighter travel, which is better travel. I mean, it is a pain in the butt to travel heavy. Robin and I, when we got married, carried so much stuff with us on our 6-week honeymoon. Then when we got to Athens, cab drivers would not pick us up.
Yeah.
They just looked at these 2 people with stacks of luggage around them and just kept driving. And then we had to haul all of this stuff around. So look, any improvement you make in this regard, you're going to feel it. You're going to notice how much better.
Well, you think that you're reducing stress by bringing more stuff because, oh, I'll have this and I'll have this and I won't have to worry about that. But the flip side is you're increasing the stress that you're going to have on your trip because you have to deal with all this stuff.
This stuff. Right. So we're going to show you actually what we're going to be taking. Assume that this is a 2 to 3 week trip. And basically, if you can make this work for 2 to 3 weeks, you can make this work for any length of time. Yeah. But I would say that almost everything we've got here, we could do on a 1 week trip. The exceptions to this would be if you were camping or skiing or something where you needed gear or hunting, you would have to do this in a little bit different way. And we'll have shows on that. But this is a trip, it's going to be sort of a 3-day to 3-week trip where you are not going to have business meetings, hunting, camping. You might have some casual.
But you'll be doing some excursions and going out to nice places.
Yeah, we'll be both hiking a lot and we're going to be doing a version of kayaking.
Nice.
So we're going to be in the water. We're going to be hiking and doing outdoors things, and we're going to have evening events and a few sort of business meetings, but they'll be very casual. So rule number 1, you need way less than you think. It's the mindset piece. You got to overcome the FOMO, and it's pretty easy to do by trying this for a weekend trip where you are flying, and you just go with half of what you think. One of the things that's most useful, I mean, you just watching this, you're going to be able to have probably the way.
is wildly pressing the light.
Greg, we want to thank you for that. Greg is awesome about sharing it. Greg, you're partially responsible for us. We broke 5,000 on one of our episodes the
It's
other
a
day.
new record.
It is a new record for us, yeah. And we have some coming up on 3,000. We have a couple coming up on 3,000.
I think we broke 3,000
On another
We might
episode.
have broken.
So thank you, Greg, for the liking and the sharing. That is awesome.
That was while I was away, both those episodes. So maybe people don't like me.
Well, we
Hey, look, correlation isn't causation.
we just happen to have good topics.
But
we
it could be a strong
lucky.
indicator.
They were good.
But the technology, we also have to say that when Alex is out here, the technology is not as
Yeah,
strong.
I mean, we had major issues last
We
week.
didn't even
There
do
were
a
also no
podcast
show
last week.
notes.
No show notes, no podcast.
I can't even share it on my page.
A failure to understand how the sun works.
Yes, for those that didn't see it last week, Sam and I, we were appealing to the flat earthers because we were in this room and it was later in the day, and we didn't understand, even though we both have strong scientific backgrounds, that the sun actually appears to move in the sky.
That's right.
I mean, the flat earthers say that, you know,
It really does.
it really does.
Yeah.
Right. Sam and I think they're wrong, and that the Earth is traveling around the sun, but it had the effect of making the sun seem like it moved, and wherever we would move, the sun would follow. You look particularly washed out at one point.
was
because
very
the sun was just
interesting, yeah.
beaming into your face. When I saw it, I thought, is Sam okay? But you were.
I was okay.
You were strong as ever.
I was okay.
We haven't even gotten to rule 2 yet. We promise this is going to get strong super fast.
We're already 15 minutes in.
Oh my God. You lose bulk and weight, but not functionality.
Right.
So for example, I'll show you a tool that helps with this. This is a cocoon that Alex gave me for Christmas. I used something very similar, but it was in 2 different pieces. So slide the laptop in here, all the cables here. This could just slide into the bag.
Or just keep it
okay,
like that. It's
or
neat
just
for
keep
you.
it like this, yeah. If you have a backpack and you can carry this right on. So this is, high design. I mean, you could put so many different kinds of cables and earbuds and whatever you need in here, that you're, again,
But the form factor
Yeah.
is incredible.
super easy to
Yeah.
use. So you're always going to, I'll show you another little trick here. So this is the dock kit. This is my travel gear for the whole time that we're gone. And it's a super light comb. It's a tiny, everything's tiny here. Let me tell you what we've got in here. It's pretty much everything you would need. I do have a separate one, same size, that is a first aid kit. But this, I mean, just think about this. We've shaved probably for most of you 2/3 off. And women may be saying, oh no, come on, I need this, I need that in terms of makeup. Okay, so I've got plenty of room in here. I have comb, deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrush.
I mean, you actually do have a lot of makeup in there.
And I have, it's camo.
Oh, okay.
I have a razor. Notice I do not have shaving cream because I could just use, I use a combination usually of the hotel shampoo and or conditioner to make my face soft. This, if we were talking to you about hiking or backpacking, I would cut this off. Now that may seem crazy. So I have a really good, but super lightweight toothbrush here. I liked how I forgot what it was. But I would probably even cut that off and save another little bit of weight. I always take with me, what do you call this stuff?
Floss.
Floss. Some people like the little pre-made flossers, but that's a lot to take on a 3-week trip where you can do it. And this you could use for all kinds of purposes if you need it. There's a hair product in there. There's a comb. So here you have everything that you would ordinarily have in about 1/3 of the space and about 1/3 of the weight. So you're always going to be looking for design. Here's another example. I like to have duct tape with me, even if I'm on a trip where I'm going to, because I'm going to be out hiking here. So I'm not going to be at a luxury hotel. So we can just make little rolls, but that have enough to subdue a man on an aircraft, for example. We can talk more about that later. And then personalize, optimize for design and usefulness is the third rule. So you're always going to be looking for stuff, so for example, here is the traditional passport neck piece. Not too bad, but you've got to open it up to show it. I found weirdly that the passport was very tight to sit in here. Super bulky. Here's an alternative. This is a silk one. It fits inside. The passport's easy in and out. By the way, we have currency in here. This has multiple zip pockets. We're going to give some of these things, if you want to order them, we'll give you our
I'm posting the links right now
affiliate
actually in the
links.
comments.
Excellent.
nice.
Which is something I guess he's saying we could have done. But
We could have.
we could.
Right, you could have.
So this is interesting. So the Drong, I believe, is the Vietnamese currency. So for $250 US, we have 3,866,000 Drong here. It doesn't.
But when your notes come in 20,000 increments.
That's the
500,000.
smallest. Yeah, that's the smallest note we have. In America, they want to ban the $100 bill. They've got a $500,000 bill.
500,000.
What we're worried about is that we're going to go to take a cab ride and we're going to have the down payment on a house.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to break it.
No, exactly. So we're going to have to work with the hotel on that. So it is a good idea, by the way, even in this electronic age, to have the currency at least to get you to and from a.
Especially in certain countries.
Yes.
Having currency, and then if you are and you should be carrying cash, keeping it in a couple different spots. so you
Yes,
trust
good point. Because anybody can have a bag or something go astray. I am taking on this trip too a very lightweight travel wallet. I might have it on me. It's got RFID protection too.
I have, well, I don't have one with RFID protection, but I have one that I just keep all of my travel cards in that I need. So I have my global entry card in
Yes.
this is called RAW, and it's just
Hold it up so they can see that. It's
it's
super
not
lightweight.
backwards because we have the camera correct.
Right.
Oh yes, thank you,
Right.
Steve Richardson.
But you can fit. I have 7 or 8 cards in here.
Right.
You know,
Super
everything ranging from global entry to like a car rental card or.
Oh,
Yeah,
while we're
it's
on that,
car
let's talk a little bit about global entry and well, you can talk about a global entry, and you were recommending, which I think is a really good idea, that registration. What is
So the U.S. government has a program called STEP.
STEP.
It's a Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. So you just go online, it's totally free. You go on and enroll in it and let them know when and where you're going, and they will register you with the closest embassy if you're traveling abroad. And then also you'll be on their list to get travel advisories and alerts just in case there's anything going on while you're traveling.
You
Excellent.
register that at the State Department website, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
then-
step.state.gov or something.
And then most people know pre-check because they either use it or they see people cutting through the pre-check line.
Mhm.
Want to talk a little bit about that because that saves us weeks out of our lives each month or each year.
Yeah, so TSA has pre-check now that you can just enroll for, and we talked about that a little bit on one of the previous shows about how you can get the credit for that from your credit cards.
Mhm.
And so that helps you immensely with especially with domestic travel or any air travel. But you actually get TSA pre-check if you enroll through the Global Entry Program, which then gives you other benefits like when coming back into the United States, you skip immigrations and customs. You just go up to a little kiosk. Your fingerprints are on file when you do your interview, and then it basically takes a picture and you're approved and you walk right through, skipping, I don't know, hours sometimes of waiting in line.
I would say on a domestic trip where I'm, out and in, what it saves me is typically 20 minutes to half an hour each direction. You don't have to take your shoes off. And
Yeah, there's other benefits to TSA pre-check. So, like you said, you don't have to take your shoes off. You don't have to take outerwear, like light outerwear off. You don't have to take your belt off. You don't have to take your laptop or liquids out of your bag. So there's a lot of benefits to the pre-check. And then with global entry, that also applies to other countries. So I just 2 years ago traveled to New Zealand, and I just went right through. There was no passport stamp or anything. It just, the kiosk took my picture, went right through. And then there's other countries, UK, South Korea, there's some other ones. Australia, New Zealand are on there. Mexico is not on there, but I believe Canada is.
I think
You
Canada
fly
is as
into
well.
Canada.
So it just makes that sort of international
And you do
transition.
get actual with global entry, you get access to some other countries' similar programs. So I know with Mexico, you still have to apply for it, but you automatically qualify to
Okay.
apply.
So just one other thing that I forgot to mention here that while I'm looking at it makes sense. Get the small one and make yourself fit everything in there.
Right.
Same with the backpack. Get one that's functional and lets you organize things the way that you want to. We use 3 different pieces of equipment, but they're actually very similar, different models by different manufacturers. So I use the North Face. What is this model called?
Surge.
Surge, and we'll
Well,
put that up for you. So the Surge has 2 exterior water bottles. It has sort of padded storage, 3 access points on the front for things like a camera, and then it has waterproof storage for other sorts of things. And then it has the compartment. This might be useful to some people if you don't have pre-check, where it opens all the way up so that it just lays flat. Okay? So by getting a bag that's a reasonable size and getting a doc kit and a first aid kit that are small, for most of the time, I would take this and load all my first aid gear in here. Now, because we're going to a place where we'll be working outdoors, I have things like clotting sponges, which are a little bit expensive, but you want to have them. And I have something that some friends of mine taught me years ago. There's a prophylactic sort of combo of Cipro, Pepto-Bismol, and Imodium taken in advance. So if you're in an area where maybe food or water is going to be iffy and you're in country, you take that and you're way less likely to come down with something. So I'm going to be traveling with those on this particular trip. And, so that takes up a little bit more space, but it will not, all of that will not take up more space than this. So let me review what I've got. I have an analgesic. I have clotting sponges. I have Cipro, Neosporin, like a triple antibiotic cream, Pepto-Bismol, Imodium, and I'll have a few Band-Aids and tweezers, things like that.
Yeah.
So all of that, again, will fit in this. So very easy to take. And we're gonna break these bags down and what we're doing. But before we do that, let's talk about something to leave at home. So I made photocopies, which I'm not gonna hold up other than of my passport, of the passport, of the visas to all of the countries that I'm going to, the front and back of each and every one of my credit cards in my wallet. Everything in my wallet is photocopied here. This is being left with somebody who I trust to have it, and that way, if anything went astray, I also have it as a digital file that could be emailed to me right away. So that is something that I'm leaving here, along with a full packet that shows exactly where I'm gonna be when, to the extent that I know that. So that stuff I'm leaving here, and then obviously your itinerary. We use, both you and I use Tripcase. So all of our hotel reservations and airline reservations are all sort of digitally accessible there. But I'm old school, so I have a copy that stays with somebody here when I'm gonna be away for any length of time, and a copy that goes with me. And I do that on short or long trips. Just like, to me, when I park a car at a trailhead, I leave a note in there that says where I went and when I'm expected back and things like that. So I'm still analog and digital. To me, and this may sound weird because we said go light, go light, go light, but I'm a big believer in the one is none, two is one. So I have some level of redundancy here. Like, so I have these two clotting sponges. They're going to be in two different places. Cash, I have it in multiple
It's also
places.
worth noting where the redundancy is.
In the critical things.
Yes.
Not something that I could easily, that I may not be able to easily replace. Cipro, I might not be able to get in country, so I'm gonna have 2 bottles of Cipro with me. Something else on space, so like I start heavier and get lighter as I go. Now I do acquire things, but I have a bunch of magazines I wanna take with me and sort of catch up on business and health reading. But what I'll probably do is go through these and tear out the articles I want, and then just take what, I might have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 magazines in the space of what one would take up.
Right.
So I get all the magazines I'm going to take on a trip like that, go through them in advance, and then I typically staple those together and just take those articles with me. So that, again, is a good way of shaving some weight off. You have your bag with you, I have mine. You're going to tell us other stuff that you take or use that we don't have here, but I thought I would kind of go through the bag. We're going to do this at a future show. I think Buster Tate's coming up, where we're going to do preparedness bags. So go bags for the home and car, bigger setups, smaller setups, because we at Business Black Ops this year, we did a whole piece on how preparedness makes you better, both in business and in life, and preparedness in your life makes it easier for you to get more stuff done. Likewise with travel. So I have a quick access pocket up top here. I carry a very small notebook there, which sometimes I just put in my pocket. By the way, this is a travel shirt that doesn't have 37 pockets, but does have something that's pretty essential, which is a zipper breast pocket and Velcro breast pocket here. So it doesn't have lots of other things. It's a little bit of a tactical shirt or a travel shirt. It is long sleeve, but it's wicking and super fast drying, and you can just wash this if you needed to. So I carry a bunch of little clips on a carabiner in case I need to close bags or clip together documents or things like that. I take lots of little zip ties with me. I have right here, because I might need them quickly, this is the Business Black Ops metal card, which is pretty cool. So if I need to share information with people. Attached to that, we have the link for this. This is an excellent little flashlight, super powerful, lasts forever, takes an ordinary battery. Then in this particular bag, 2 things I like. One is the padded pocket here on the outside. So that has my laptop battery in it and a battery recharger. That's the padded one. And then this is a waterproof one. I'm not sure I'm fully packed with everything that I would want in here. Oh yeah, these are just things that are going. One's Dramamine, and this is an Olbas inhaler in case you get like a stuffy nose or something. So they'll go, all of my medical stuff will go in there, my first aid kit. I carry with me 1 gallon, 2 gallon, and quart plastic bags. and then I put some big and small rubber bands on them, hold them together, but then I have rubber bands with me, which often come in handy. I carry a mesh bag so I can see what's in there. That has a relatively small notebook. We're going to talk about small versus large notebook, but that's the daily notebook I would carry around with me. So here, if we open this up, on this particular trip, I'm taking a bunch of charging cables that all go into this. And we have something similar I think we could show you.
Couldn't find that.
Couldn't find it, okay. And then the laptop is in here.
Will you guys take power packs?
Yeah, I have one in there, and I want to, at some point, I'll hop out while you guys are talking, and I'll go get the solar one. I have a small power pack, it's pretty portable.
It's the same brand as this one actually, so we can show this.
You just leave it out in the sun.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just has a solar panel on top and charges it.
And it charges it amazingly quickly, actually.
Yeah.
So we each take those because you
Never know.
can't tell
Yeah.
when you're
I
gonna.
also have a more portable one, which has one full charge on it.
Okay. And the other one you had is 5?
I think it's up to like.
And you'll take two, you'll take both
Yeah,
of those?
so that one I usually I'll show in a second. There's a pocket that fits like perfectly into in my backpack, and then it just normally sits in there. I can, domestic travel especially, if I need to charge my phone or something, I can just slip my phone into my backpack and it sits right in there. Now there are even backpacks that come with charging ports in them.
Yeah.
And then this one, or I have another one that's more of a cylindrical shape, you can just slip right into your pocket with like a short cord.
I've never seen one quite that small in that
Yeah.
shape, that's nice.
So this is, like a little bit bigger than a credit card and a little thicker than a credit card. But
Let's talk a little bit actually about something else that you have in that magic bag, which is we're going away for long enough that we need to be in touch with our businesses.
Yep.
And I'm not one of those people that has a problem with on-off. So some people have problems shutting off, so they've got to be totally disconnected.
yeah.
Whereas I can work for a couple of hours. Where we're going, there's a 12-hour difference, so like at 9 at night, it's 9 a.m., we can catch, but I go to bed pretty early, so we can catch a little while people are up here.
Yeah.
And I could work for an hour or two. Now the problem there is, at night, I'm trying to shut my brain off and then
Yeah.
firing it up, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah, so this is a very similar bag to his. It's just another brand. It's Osprey brand. It's called Quasar.
This is that's a great model, both of these.
Yeah.
Did we figure out what the model of yours is?
It's a
Kelty.
Kelty brand. I can't remember what the model version is.
What about features that you like on it?
Yeah, so that one it's a little bit of a bigger pack, but it's still small enough to carry on an airplane.
Mhm.
I did take that exact bag with me to India for 4 weeks.
And then you just had another small bag with
No,
you?
that's
that
all
was
I
it.
took.
Okay.
That's all I took. But I also knew that I wasn't doing anything like fancy.
Mhm.
I was just traveling around the country and seeing relatives. So I didn't need anything more than that. But it has similar 2 pockets for water bottles on the outside. It has anchors around the spine of it, so to
Yeah,
speak.
yours does too.
Sort of
You showed
these.
those.
Yeah, so you can lash stuff to it. It has lots of pockets. It has room for a camelback bladder, hydration bladder, which was really nice. And that pack also had the hip strap on it.
Yep.
So I don't know
Yeah,
if
this
you
one
guys-
does not because it's small enough.
Yeah. So that had a removable hip strap on it. So
Removable. Okay.
so you can take it off, put it inside the bag so it fits overhead nicely, put it back on, and then I did a lot of train traveling, so it was nice just to have one pack, and then the station to the village you might have to walk a couple miles. So
You climb on top of the bus.
not on that trip. I'm
You're a father now.
yeah.
You're very young.
Well, I mean, listen, I was a younger man, but no.
So this one's pretty similar. Again, 2 pockets for water bottles, which actually have come in handy. I was traveling with somebody who did not have a pocket on their backpack for a water bottle. Just slipped it right into mine. This has an anchor point sort of at the base here, as well as a compression system on the front. So you could I've slipped if I'm traveling like a sweatshirt or a light jacket into there.
towel and bathing suit
Mhm.
if you're going to the beach.
And then on the front, there's a quick access pocket, which has like my sunglasses and some other stuff in it. But
On the sunglasses, I use the glasses cleaner
Soft, yeah,
bag,
soft
so I
shell bag.
combine that. Super light, doesn't take up much room.
and then in this pocket, opens up pretty far. You have a series of kind of mesh pockets up here. This is where I actually keep the power pack that I showed you. Then there's a zipper pocket actually within this. And in here, for this particular trip we're planning, we have this device, which I'll go over in a second, and then an international phone, which is a super cheap version, which I can also go over. But this one is something I was turned on to by my cousin Tyler, and it's called TEP Wireless, and it's actually a wireless hotspot with unlimited data, and you just prepay. I think it's like $5 to $8 a day, and then it's unlimited data for up to 5 devices at once.
And you'll find when you travel internationally, as those of you who do or are thinking about it, is that wireless is not reliable.
Right.
It's very expensive in many hotels, and this solves that problem. And you definitely want to shut off the data on your phone, or you might accidentally hit roaming charges that run into the thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and it's surprisingly very fast. I mean, we actually just took a trip to Ireland back in September, and it was super fast. You could play videos on it. You could, up to 5 devices. So
Yeah.
And then this is a service I actually started using in high school. It's called eKit Mobile, E-K-I-T. And they have phones and things like that, but it's mainly just SIM cards. So I actually just bought this smartphone for less than $100 off Amazon, and then just popped the international SIM card, and it works in like 160 countries, I think.
Nice.
And you don't have to like reactivate it or anything like that, depending on what country you're going to. You can just go. And it's super cheap to recharge it. I think it's, forget what the rates do vary a little bit by country, but it's not expensive.
And
Super
so we
cheap.
have sort of 3 solutions for this. So redundancy again, because being able to communicate, so we don't have a sat phone for this, but
Right.
you can rent a sat phone depending on where you're going. But for this, we do have the rental data port. We have his international, and and if you have an AT&T phone, they have an excellent international plan where I just activate it for a month, and you get as much data or as little data as you want, texting plans, voice. And then with that one, I can also connect wirelessly and use that data
Tap wireless,
too.
yeah.
So we've got sort of 3 ways that if any one of them didn't work, we'd still be able to communicate with the United States, kind of no matter where we are.
I have
And we'll be in remote areas.
another cool tool.
Yeah.
So just to go over this bag also has a bladder pocket in it and some other stuff in it. But this is a cool tool that also I was turned on to by actually Rob. And it's called the Dime Travel by Gerber. And it doesn't have a blade on it, but it's got a pair of scissors, 2 screwdrivers on the outside, a file, and whatever that is.
Oh, that's nice.
And then also a bottle opener up top.
Now, we probably won't take that with us on this trip.
No, but then
It arouses suspicion.
it also has a pair of pliers, and you can actually carry this on in the U.S. So
Yeah.
that's TSA approved.
Yeah.
Domestically, no problem.
Just
And it's very cool to
internationally,
have
you
that.
want to be
Yeah,
careful.
Tyler actually got his taken in Ireland. We got it into the country perfectly fine, and then when we were leaving, Irish security took it. So
You want to take that out when you.
yeah, this is just the knife that
Domestically.
I check. So it's a Cricut Drifter, and I've had this for I don't know however long since I was in Boy Scouts, but it stays super sharp, and it's only like $15. So if it gets taken or swiped,
You don't mind.
don't
Yeah.
mind.
But it's a really serviceable blade for
Yeah.
$15. So, really some excellent stuff in there. Let me go over a couple of things. For the toiletry kit, again, we have a toothbrush, floss or flossers. I take a Gillette Fusion Pro Glide razor. I usually put chapstick in there. I have that thing that Olbus. A sunscreen, I did not show you, but I will probably pick that up when I get there.
Yeah.
Again, not essential. I always take nail clippers, tweezers. I frequently take Q-tip cotton swabs, a travel size toothpaste, and a travel size deodorant and/or mouthwash with me. In this case, I think we got everything there. Oh yeah, and like a some kind of comb or brush. Again, even if you're a woman that has thicker hair and you need a bigger brush, you could still cut the handle off your,
Right.
like a duplicate and take it with you. Also for clothes, just something about the philosophy. Like I'll typically have, to replace if I'm traveling a lot, a travel shirt, and so I'll have a new one, like this one that I'm wearing. But I take things with me that I've worn, and that again, if they went astray, no big deal. But in this case, we probably will not even have to check. We'll just be, because we're traveling so light, we'll just have everything with us. Minimalist travel sort of first aid kit. Some kind of a clear case. I like this one because I can also put like a mini sort of first aid kit if we're going in the water with that one. I take packets of Advil. Some people like packets of Claritin. I take a little thing of Dramamine with me. I take polysporin packets or the one I was showing you. In this case, I'm taking a clotting sponge. I use regular Band-Aids. I usually take 4. Butterfly Band-Aids, I take 2. If I was doing more hiking than we were doing, I would take blister pads with me. Bug repellent wipes, I usually take a couple of them. I have 2 down. I'll probably take 4 because, you know, and again, we can probably buy some there, but I like to have something with me. And then the Cipro, Pepto-Bismol, and Imodium. I prefer the Imodium chewable, so you don't need water to get any of that stuff down. So those are the sort of essentials for a very small travel first aid kit. You're going to want, as Sam said, to carry money with you in multiple places, and you need some kind of a document holder. There's some really great products out there with belts that just look like a regular belt, but that allow you to put some amount of currency into them too. Let's talk about some optional things. Oh, just as a quick reminder again, reduce weight by taking all those magazines you want to take with you on a long trip. Just taking a few minutes and paring them down. Make sure you make a copy of both your itinerary and the contents of your entire wallet that you can leave with somebody here and have digitally. And then I take with me, this may seem like a little bit of overkill, but I can take with me, like in one of these or one of these, the entire itinerary, vouchers. Oh, that reminds me.
You also send your itinerary to somebody not traveling with you.
I do, and I leave one. You know, like if Robin is here, I'd leave one with Robin. If Robin's coming with me, I'd leave one with Alex. So somebody else has it that could get it to me, and I usually keep it digitally as well. Things like this, you know, which is an electrical adapter. I probably would just take one with me, and even though there's a little bit of unpredictability here, you could always buy one in an airport in a country where you were. I like to take a book with me, so just wanted to give Jocko a plug here. So Extreme Ownership. I actually am not going to take this with me because I'm dedicated to reading some fiction while I'm gone.
very nice.
But I do like to take a book with me, and then obviously, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about travel apps. I load up the books that I want to see.
I'm a big fan of audiobooks.
And audiobooks
on the
too.
plane, and you can burn through a lot of material.
And on long flights like this one, that's particularly good. Now, I like to keep a journal. So I showed you earlier that I have a small one that can fit in my pocket. But I like to keep one in the bag that's going to be nice and memorable. You know, so like I have one from when Alex and I went to Iceland. And I like one big enough that I could stick stuff in there too. Things I want to remember, or restaurant, card from a restaurant where I've been in case I go back. But these are both very cool looking. What I like about these is that they tie up so that as you stick things in there, they're not going to fall out.
You have a good resource to get these journals?
Yeah, so I mean these are easily available at like a Barnes and Noble. Let me show you something I did with this one. I couldn't find a little pocket notebook that had a closure on it. So I just took a big long rubber band and I taped it in here.
Nice.
So again, even with the pocket one that I might go back and kind of consolidate into that, I've got a way of closing it off so that stuff doesn't fall out of there. So that's just a quick little fix. That is the bulk of what we're taking with us. In terms of clothing packing list for this trip, I'm taking 2 shirts like this, 2 long sleeve t-shirts, 2 short sleeve t-shirts, 2 shorts. I'm gonna wear a pair of tactical or travel pants that have a bunch of pockets in them. I'm gonna take a pair, there are several companies, and we'll put it in the notes. I think one's called Bluff, where super lightweight. You could wear them hiking, but you could wear them to a meeting and people wouldn't even know.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of those like convertible pants, especially if I know I'm going to a warmer type place. You know, you just zip the pants off and then they become shorts. always nice.
Also, you can make a choice. In this particular case, I'm going to take the laptop with me because we have a lot of business stuff. But this is a nice option, which is iPad, in this case, I guess mini. I don't know what that's probably it. With a case, a hard case, which adds a little tiny bit of weight, but it really protects this. And what's nice about it is a
Full
Bluetooth keyboard.
Yeah.
So this would be an option for me in most circumstances. And I do not use like Word or Office 360, but that's a way that you could install that on here and have access to all your documents and everything wherever you were. So that's probably something that I'll start doing. Oh, almost forgot. On the right kind of trip. Now, I can't take this with me because I can't check it because inside of here is a little fishing hook, and there's a bunch of things I've wrapped up in a paracord.
Yep.
And I have a little carabiner on there too. So I do have paracord in the bag, which I didn't get to, but I like to have some paracord, some duct tape with me on every trip. So that's pretty much what I think we wanted to cover for today. And again, travel size dog.
How are we doing on time? I think it's worth noting just kind of your own like health on the long flight is the one is hydration. Like you sit on a plane for an extended period of time and you may forget to stay hydrated, and also where you're going may not have the same altitude of where you're coming from. So there's the best way to adjust for altitude changes, especially going up in altitude, is making sure you're hydrated.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. Also, that raises the issue of resetting the clock. And Charles Poliquin, who, for those of you who don't know Charles, is a kind of world famous strength and conditioning coach. He has a great group, and Charles travels all the time. I travel all the time internationally. So one of the things that Charles has suggested is obviously not eating the junky food on the airplane.
Right.
So one of the things that you'll see we have here in this bag is I've got some. I've got my favorite teas. I've got mushroom coffee in here, which I should have mushroom
very
coffee.
good.
Would you like?
Very good.
And I have macadamia nuts. And so Charles was saying, take some macadamia nuts and caviar, because it's going to get that brain fired up when you land, and it'll help you to reset to the local time. There are a number of homeopathic and other type of remedies that I've used with some level of success, but I find the best thing is like carefully timing how you're going to sleep on the plane as related to when you get there, making sure that if you're landing at night that you're going to be tired.
Right.
And then have an excellent, super high fat, high protein meal in the morning when you wake up to get yourself fired up again.
Moving around on the plane.
Compression, like for my age, having compression socks is important on those long flights so that you don't get like a deep vein thrombosis. Yeah. That's probably true for anybody on a
Super
14-hour flight.
Yeah. Those long haul flights, just doing the neck rotation, shoulder rotations, ankle rotations, elongating the spine while you're in the seat, deep breathing, and then when you can, walking around and getting a stretch in if you can.
This, by the way, is what Tucker does when he sees that we're packing for something.
Yeah.
So we're not actually packing for something, but he sees the stuff out. He comes and he sits down on the stuff or in the bag.
Yeah.
One other thing, people have asked me what sort of things I keep track of in here. So, and I wanted to talk about fiction. It would be good if I actually followed the notes for the show. So in here, I do several things. I have a morning and evening ritual, which I still keep doing. So, and we've talked about that on prior shows, what we write down. So I do that in here. In addition, I write down, where we went with some degree of specificity in case I ever wanted to get back there. I write down the full names of restaurants. I try to get the card of somebody at a restaurant.
Yeah.
So I keep track of all of that in here. And then I also write essays. This is just something I do. But these essays are about things that happen while I'm traveling. And those, anytime with, in Top Form, we talk about all of these things that have to do with your lifestyle and your health and your fitness and also your business. And here's the thing is, there are all kinds of things that are going to happen to you on these adventures that you want to be able to share. And writing down stories, whether they're fictional or whether they're sort of autobiographical, will entertain you later. It entertains you at the time, and it lets you use those in a really effective way when you're sharing them
Yeah.
with other people. So I do all of those things in here. I also went to Barnes and Noble to get a couple of books to take with me. So I'll get lighter as I go again, which will afford me the room to put other stuff in there. One of the things I noticed was this. It was amazing. So somebody, actually, it was Frank Kern, recommended that I read this, if I was going to read fiction, James Patterson, which is like just junky, sort of exciting police or spy fiction.
Yeah.
So, and he said it's written in the reason Frank was saying that, he said it's like it's written in a way where you've got like these little chapters with cliffhangers that force you to go to the next chapter, and it does in fact inform how we write. And actually, Alex, you and I can share a little bit of the storytelling that we've been infusing into writing. And Alex and I recently wrote an email sequence that did extremely well, coupled with some ads, so we'll share that in one of the next ones too. But what I was not prepared for, since I hadn't been to the bookstore in a little while, was that even physical books are now changed to reflect the fleeting intellectual span of concentration that humans apparently have
Oh
developed.
boy.
So I got a book, which is 3 mini books. So it's a regular sized paperback with font that's a little bit on the big side.
Wow.
And it's 3 separate little stories in one book. So apparently people can't even like hack their way through a 200 or 300 page novel anymore. They need they need 180 pages of slightly bigger font broken into 3 stories.
That's crazy.
So it is crazy, but at the same time I think it's informative.
Yeah.
Not too bad for travel actually.
Right.
Because you
Right.
can devour these little things when you've got some downtime. But it also tells us something that publishers have figured out, and publishers have been struggling with the new world that we live in. And they figured out that at least certain demographics don't want to have to commit to a big novel. And so we should be aware of that when we're writing things and doing things, that maybe the format in which we've been presenting it needs to change a little bit or be shortened. And again, I think that really depends on your demographic. But there must have been, so it wasn't just James Patterson.
Sure.
Every major novelist, there were these mini books packed
Right.
into 3 books, or there were physically mini books too. I preferred the one book that had 3 of them in
Yeah.
there. And then I bought a Neil Gaiman novel, which is like a serious writer who's writing in a very different way, and it was traditional. It was like a book that you read. It wasn't just a mini story. So I have those 2 that I'm taking with me. But again, one of the nice things about travel is that you're going to have experiences you couldn't possibly have here. It causes you to re-examine a lot of your assumptions about how you've been doing things. And I have never taken a trip where I haven't come back with at least 1 or 2 or 3 great marketing ideas, because you see people doing things in other cultures that may or may not be directly applicable to how you market, but are almost certainly going to be able to inspire you to do some marketing in a new way. One of the other things we just want to talk about is that you're going to be hosting with Pat Flynn 2 upcoming shows purely on fitness.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're going to be doing our usual show format on a series of topics related to business or life and being in top form. But we're also going to have a little segment that each of us is going to present. So some of those will be on travel, some of those will be on food, fitness, and nutrition, some of those will be on management and leadership and marketing. So each week, we're each going to present to you a little micro minute or 2 on each of those topics. So we're looking forward to doing that, and we'd love your feedback. Thank you very much for sharing. Do we have any questions, by the way? I guess we just kept plowing through and didn't ask for questions.
Nope.
No questions. One of the other things that we really appreciate you doing is sharing the video. And so if there was anything in here, so if you know somebody who's complained that they've overpacked, or you know somebody that's coming up with a big trip, or you know somebody that needs to get away from the office and go on a trip, because that helps back at the office too. You come back totally recharged and thinking about things in a new way, and thinking about things in a way that you can't when you're going into the office every day. So if you know somebody that needs to get away from the office, whether they're an experienced traveler or a novice, whether they pack heavy or whether they would just like some of these tips or some of the pieces of equipment we've tested, by all means share it with them or share it on your wall. We really appreciate that. Thank you very much. So for now, I think we're good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have a
Sign
great one,
off.
everybody. Enjoy.
There's a notification that's preventing me from pressing finish.
Oh, what is it? Here, let me.